we're going to use those properties to solve. So I'm going to show you two ways. There are two different methods that I'm going to show you to solve this problem. One of them is using the properties. So the properties say, I can take this power and bring it out in front and write it as multiplication. Well, that's quite nice, because what I can do next is just divide by that number. Because right now it's 5 times. Well, I can undo multiplication with division. And when I undo that multiplication, my numbers get smaller. Smaller numbers are handy if you don't have a calculator. So we have log base 4 of x equals 4. Now, this is our rule. When we get it down to a single log, and you can't look at it and tell me the answer, switch forms. So when I switch forms, this becomes 4 to the 4th equals x. Well, maybe some of you have your powers of 4 memorized. I don't. So how do I think about this and do it in my head? I write it as 4 squared squared, because I know 16 squared is 256. I got my perfect squares 1 to 20 and 25 memorized. Okay, so that's 256. Okay, what would the other method be? The other method I'm going to show you is where we immediately switch forms and we don't use those properties of logs to solve. So if I immediately switch forms, it would become 4 to the 20th equals x to the 5th. Okay? Now, we know we can take the 5th root. But what is the same as the 5th root? What power is equivalent to taking the 5th root of something? Raising it to what power?
The 1/5.
The 1/5 power. And so it takes us to the same spot, guys, because this becomes 4 to the 25th, and this becomes x to the 5/5, which is just 1. So this becomes 4 to the 4th, and this is x, and 4 to the 4th, we just justified as 256. Yes, ma'am.
The two exponents are just divisible like that. Can you just do 20 divided by 5 to get rid of 5?
Yeah, that's what we did right here.
Oh, okay.
That was our first method. So you have two methods. Method 1, method 2.
Okay.
Oh, are you talking about here?
Yeah. Instead of like multiplying what I went with. I mean, it's practically doing the same thing. It's just like easier.
It is the same thing, but that's what you do. You
Okay.
can't just divide, you can raise them both to a power.
Okay.
But when you raise them both to a power, that's what ends up happening. Alright, you try this one. Give this one a try. While you're finishing this up, I do want to remind everyone that this weekend is the performance of Beauty and the Beast. It starts Thursday. There's a performance Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. I would recommend you buy your tickets in advance. They have them for sale in the front office. Student tickets are $10, and adults are $12.
Friday's almost sold out too.
I just bought tickets for Friday. You want me to save you a seat? You want to sit with the Willoughbys?
I might. I'm coming with my
Mr.
sister.
Willoughby's coming.
Come on Thursday, I'll be there.
Hey.
Is Thursday sold out?
I don't know. I didn't ask how many tickets were available. I bought mine and I'm excited.
Oh, what is that?
All right. So you guys are so fortunate to be at a school where you and your classmates are super talented, academically, athletically. We have lots of vocal talent. We have people that can dance. Well, I mean, you guys are just play instruments. It's amazing how much talent we have in this school. You guys are super fortunate.
Miss Willoughby, you had all of those.
What now?
You got all three.
Yes. In an area where no talent existed, I did attempt at many different. Yes.
It's better than try.
Oh, I always had fun.
We should have a log where it's like the background thing. We should have a log.
Ooh, you think?
No, we shouldn't.
All right. There's a you try on this one. But it works just like the other one. Exactly like the other one. So we can pull the 3 out in front if we want to, and then divide by it and make it smaller. I always like to deal with smaller numbers when I can. So this would be my method of choice, but that doesn't mean it's your method of choice. So you can choose either way. And at this point, whenever I'm down to a single log and I can't look at it and tell the answer, which you may be able to, you may be able to go, that's gotta be 22. But if you can't, then you switch forms. So 4 squared equals x minus 6. So this is 16, and then I'd have to add the 6 when I move it over, so 22 equals x. All right, now the next one, there's no base written. So it's base 10, this is the common log. Now, this one has subtraction in it, and it has multiple logs. So when we have multiple logs, we condense. If there are multiple logs on one side of the equation, you condense them. So we're going to take the subtraction and turn it into what? What did you say again? Division. So this becomes x divided by 10 equals 14. And you also told me that this is obviously base 10, the common log, even though there's no base written. So when we go to switch forms, we get 10 to the 14th equals x over 10. And so to solve, we would just multiply by 10. Now, I'm not into writing a ton of zeros. So the way I would write my answer is, this is 10 to the 1st. And so I would just write my answer as 10 to the 15th. But if it makes you happy to write a 1 with 15 zeros following it, go for it. All right.
That'd be amazing.
Okay. So, you try this one. You try number 14.
No.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it is.
It might be. You have to sell everything.
No, that's not
You
possible.
got to steal one.
That's not
All
possible.
right. You try number 14.
Sell a lot of drugs.
That was fine. Or 15 or equal to each other.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so when we condense, it becomes log. We're still working in base 10 because it's the common log. And so when we switch forms, it becomes 10 squared equals 5x. So 100 is equal to 5x, and x would be 20. Now, you know how at the beginning of the lesson we did say that we can't have a negative base or a negative answer. So if I plug in 20, do I get a negative? No, it works. That's a valid answer. Let's come back here and look at some of these. If I plug in 22, is this answer part still positive? Yeah, that works. Sometimes we get an answer that doesn't work. And when we get an answer down here that when we plug it back in, we end up with a negative answer, then that logarithm is not defined. So even though it's an algebraic solution, it is not an actual answer to our problem. What do we call these types of answers? We call them extraneous solutions. Have we put that in here yet? Maybe it's my other class. So they're extraneous solutions. So there's answers that we get to the problem that actually don't really work for the problem. So that might happen. All right. It hasn't yet, but it might. Okay. Now the next one. This one doesn't have logs on one side. It actually has logs on both sides. And the only way we can have a log of a base of an answer equal to a log of a base of an answer is if this part actually equals that part. So when we have this part has to equal this part for it to be true. So all you have to do is say x plus 9 equals 2x minus 7. X is over here, number's over there, 16. Now if I plug 16 here, do I get a positive number? Yes. And if I plug 16 there, do I get a positive number? Yes. So 16 is a viable solution.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So I want you to try these three. Some have logs on one side. Some have logs on both sides. Some make you faster. But as a student said last period, he's really good at factoring now.
I used to be until I forgot it.
That's not so
I forget things
here.
It means there's room for
Sam,
improvement.
have you made 100 on your factoring quiz?
The first try.
First try.
Ain't
And
first
then
your
you
last
forgot?
one. I guess.
Please, yes.
We'll see if I remember.
So I forgot that, like, I mentored the Peoples, and I forgot that was this morning. And so,
I'll be here tomorrow.
alright, so will I. See you there. You want anything from Chick-fil-A?
I'm going to cancel math team practice in the morning because we don't have another competition right now. So we'll meet again soon anyway.
Wait, you guys practice? They practice?
You give them like drills?
How do you think we win?
Oh no, I thought you
just
Do y'all do like drills? Or is it just that you give them a bunch of numbers?
Some of the problems they have to work in this team so they can practice.
Yeah, we're just looking what you did.
But
Without
then sometimes we do,
So this is
like,
just
we talk about things that haven't been in math class yet. Sometimes we talk about that, sometimes we talk about different ways to work out.
I know it's practice.
Actually, it's the reason that I did very well on that paper. Yeah. I would not have been star student if I hadn't been on that thing. There's no way. Because my math score carried my verbal. I mean, seriously carried.
If I could talk, I could do it. Oh, good.
Yes,
Because you had
Do I
like
read?
this.
I don't.
Anything but math.
Oh.
Here.
I do find myself more pulled towards things that are mathematical, scientific in nature. I do read research. I read nerdy stuff. I don't read like for fun. I don't sit down and read like an enjoyable, you know.
We're going like scientific fiction.
Scientific fiction.
I know what you're talking about. That is not always intriguing to me because I spend so much time in my head talking about why it's not possible, figuring out why it's not possible. Sometimes my brain is my worst enemy.
My brain is all right.
That struggles with babies.
Yeah.
How?
It's like,
It's hard
Well, I had
to
gotten no sleep.
shut off the
Come on,
whole logical processing part of my brain
You forgot this.
And so-
I swear it's in.
Long as you sit down, kind of brain off for like 10 minutes. Popcorn. Some movies I can do.
Alright, 17.
Yeah.
You've done
For
this.
some movies, it requires so many assumptions that it's like, it's not like a book with this that type.
Oh, yeah.
Negative 58.
No.
This is simple, right?
5x. Now you should divide by 2. Oh, wait, no, you have to. Square root.
Not 400.
I did 5x.
It was more than half that.
Square root of 2.
It's like nice. So then we multiply a whole, times 6, you get 62.
Oh, I misread something.
There you go. Hey, man, that works.
I hear
You
you.
just made it.
That was not right.
Right.
So not right.
Oh, I changed it to decimal points.
Oh, I can do this though.
Really?
This is easy.
I'm never
I use this in my head. Alright, so plus 5x and then you get 6x equals 0. We're working together.
What? No,
She's tired and I have a really bad headache, so when mine's put together, you work out about a mine. Still probably less.
So he
We're both feeling pretty
thinks
bad.
you can do 6x equals 0.
right now.
I mean, I know you can't do that, but
Okay, I got 2.
is that right? I'm
No,
probably
it's not right.
Did I do the thing right?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna reset them equal. Okay.
You did this so
Are you
well.
giving out
At least it's
alphabet?
not
Might
a
have wrote it
good
down wrong.
So did you make changes?
Okay, if you're, if when you plug the answer back in, it becomes positive, you're okay. Like, we're okay.
Oh, you're good, that's true.
You're
Holy
okay.
cow.
Alright, so, on number 18, I should have heard your heads inside going, square the first, double the product, square the last. Hey. And so, do not forget this essential middle part. Otherwise, it's just one wrong. I mean, real wrong. Not even close to right.
I should put x minus 1 equals negative 5.
Oh, if you didn't see the square,
Yeah, I
that,
didn't do
that
that.
makes sense why you were doing what you were doing. Okay,
I thought it
so,
was part of the board, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna explain myself.
okay,
Didn't see
so
it.
because we have logs on both sides on this one, we can just set this part equal to this part. Well, this binomial was squared, so we have to square it. Then we're gonna be left with a quadratic. A quadratic must always be set equal to 0, and we can factor it and solve. Now, I told you you can't have a negative, but what I said was when you plug it back in, if it remains negative, well, when I plug this one in, it gets squared, so it's positive. When I plug this one in, it gets multiplied by -5, so it becomes positive. Both of those are okay. There are no extraneous solutions in that problem. Yes, Brock? Sure. Alright, so that is it for today, folks. Your homework is out of the textbook. Okay, it's on page 296. It's the part that's boxed in green. Now, I put some optional problems. I'm not checking those, but if you feel you need additional help or additional practice, you can try those. Okay, I am taking all the books off the shelf and turning them to the book room. No, thank you. Go ahead, you get started on your homework. Joseph, thank you for asking.
My face.
We're not packing up. This homework only takes about 5 minutes. Please knock it out.
Is it really?
Yes.
Good, 6 minutes, man.
Like the most